Hello ladies and gentlemen, and I say a massive welcome to 2021 on behalf of Randomised Gaming. Yes, I am your host for this video, Random Gamer Riven, the editor of Randomised Gaming, and I'm welcoming you into our first audio video of 2021 / commentated video, although I'm only actually going to commentate over this starting introduction section. Once we get into game, I won't be commentating over it. I was going to hopefully plan to get this video out last week, but as I saw Capcom release their guidelines, I thought, okay, maybe I'll just make a few adjustments and changes. And I think I'd quite like to use this type of splash screen going forward for a lot more of our videos, as it's quite a nice introduction just to give you the background of the game, more than just confirming the developers, but actually telling you, the players, genres, formats, etc. It's quite a nice little intro, and then some nice background art as well, courtesy of Capcom. This is their original artwork for Street Fighter Alpha 2. Or in this case, Street Fighter 02, as we will be looking at the Japanese Super Famicom version. And just to confirm, so Street Fighter 02, it was released on the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom in Japan. A late Super Nintendo game, although not the really latest, which was sort of early 2000s, but it was released in 1996 and it was one of the last sort of big worldwide releases. It was developed by Capcom, it was published by Capcom. Of course, it's a genre, it's a verse fighter, it allows up to 2 players, and the version shown in this video is the Japanese version. Interestingly, this is the only SDD1 game that was actually released in Europe and the North America. There were only 2 SDD1 games, which was basically a graphics compressor chip that allowed numerous data. One was Star Ocean, and the other was, of course, Street Fighter Alpha 2, shown here. The other graphics compressor chip was the SPC7110, and that was actually used for Far East of Eden Zero and a couple of other Hudson Soft games. And I'm not sure how good the chip actually was, because there was only, as I said, only 2 games used it, and certainly Alpha 2 did have load times, which did slow it down somewhat. There was also some slowdown in the matches as well. Maybe it was because of the archaic SNES hardware. I mean, it's certainly an impressive port of a game you wouldn't have expected to have got ported to the Super Nintendo, especially seeing as we didn't get Street Fighter Alpha 1. This was quite a surprise release that someone did, oh hey, Alpha 2's coming out on the SNES. I mean, it was kind of mocked at the time. I distinctly remember a lot of people saying, well, we've got the Saturn and PlayStation versions, and they completely blow the Super Nintendo version away. However, in hindsight, that was a bit unfair. It is a very, very impressive version. It does have some slowdown. It doesn't have all the characters like Evil Ryu, as far as I can tell, but it's still a very, very impressive version. And the reason we're doing this video is, in case you haven't seen recently, I saw this on the Event Hub's website, is that the fact that a modder known by the name of Gizaha, and basically Events Hub had carried this story, that they've actually been reverse engineering the game because they've been doing a modded version of Alpha 2 that removed the slowdown, or that was using a completely new custom chipset called the MSU1, which kind of defeats the point of making SNES games, because if you're creating you can effectively put anything on SNES now, as you can create massive chipsets of like 10 gigabytes or whatever on your size and all sorts. That aside, let's actually talk about this new cheat code that has been discovered. It's really nice to find that we've actually been able to play as Shin Akuma for the past 25 years, but not that anyone's known how to do so. Now, it's not clear why this cheat code was never released. Possibly someone implemented it and then forgot to tell Capcom, or maybe left Capcom and never mentioned it. I know Capcom can also be having actually worked with people who work with them, and actually I have actually been at Capcom UK's headquarters many years back. I know they can be very particular about bugs, and there are 1 or 2 glitches, but this seems to have been almost a completely intended playable mode, as Shin Akuma not only has a rival fight, but he does actually have a slight variant on Akuma's ending. So although he has the same ending, during the credit roll, you'll actually see you have the red shadow image of Akuma rather than the black and grey one, the normal version. So effectively he has his own credit sequence, and he has his own special rival fight. And just to warn you, his rival fight is actually against Shin Akuma, and you'll see it in this video. And on top of that, if you're good enough, it's possible to fight Shin Akuma twice in the lineup, and I will actually show you the text you get if you fight Shin Akuma right at the end instead of Gen as well. So effectively you can actually fight Shin Akuma twice. He doesn't have an alternative colour palette swap as well, which may be another reason Capcom didn't release his cheat code. But I should mention there are a few bugs, like the scoreboard slightly corrupts, and also during the game over screen, the palette as it zooms in and sort of the game over text actually appears, will actually just break up and distort. So there are a few bugs with it, and I know Capcom do not like bugs of that kind, certainly during that era. The cheat is very similar to the Kami code for Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold Edition on Sega Saturn, so I'm surprised this was never released. Maybe Capcom just forgot about it or decided they didn't want to release it. I've heard there's a lot more bugs with some of the text dialogue in the Western version, so that's Street Fighter Alpha in the US and European version, as I haven't actually tested them because we don't have copies of them to actually test. I don't know, I haven't actually checked on emulator either, but from what I've seen, the Japanese version does have a few bugs here and there. Nothing too major though, it's still a really enjoyable experience. But just to confirm, this was all captured from my North American Super Nintendo with my Japanese Super Famicom cartridge of the game. So this is all a real hardware capture, and it shows the cheat fully working. So yes, we have checked it, it does work. I've lost track over the years of the amount of cheats that I used to see in magazines. You'd try and it turns out they'd put something in wrong so the cheat wouldn't work, and then various websites would just, people would copy and paste that cheat, so you'd often see the broken cheat around the internet for years and whatnot on various websites. In fact, there's a great website called The Cutting Room Floor, and they had a real mention about this on one of the Twinbee cheats for Super Nintendo. There's a shooter Twinbee game, and one of the cheat codes was printed wrong in just about every single magazine. I think they were like one of the first websites that actually carried the correct version. I think they had reverse engineered, been looking in the code as well to discover it. But yes, you do need to always check your cheats codes and make sure you can get them to work before you go publishing them. Okay, so I've been testing this cheat code quite a bit to make sure I know all the variables to play as Shin Akuma, Shin Gouki, depending on which version. And before I begin, I should state very clearly that you require 2 joypads to enter this cheat code. If you don't have a second joypad, you won't be able to enter it, sadly. So this first step is to get a score of 50,000 points or more to make sure you reach first place on the scoreboard for the game. It must be first place. The cheat will not work if you enter it in second, third or fourth or fifth. It must be first place. And you can actually easily reach 50,000 points just by winning a standard sort of normal difficulty match. That usually ends with about 100,000 points if you're good enough in arcade mode. So then once you've got over 50,000 points, so you'll get first place on the scoreboard, you then need to lose and bring up the basically game over screen, at which point you'll be asked to enter your name, and then you need to enter your name as the 3 letters K-A-J. Now once you've done that, entered your name as K-A-J, in the second step you need to hold the following button combination on controller 2. So you need to hold the L trigger, X, Y and start button, and this can be a bit tricky if you're doing this solo because you need to have both controllers in your hands basically. So on controller 2 you need to press L trigger, X, Y and start button and keep them held until you reach the character select screen of either the arcade or the verse mode. Now this is actually slightly easier if you hold them down during the intro, the scoreboard or attract mode, as this will take you to the title screen, and basically if you've already got them held down, start won't activate on player 2's joypad. If you press and hold them all together on the actual title screen, I found player 2 start would trigger and go actually into arcade mode. It was like trigger through the title screen, and that actually caused a problem because then the cheat wouldn't activate, hence why I found it better to do it on the intro, scoreboard or track mode, because when you press start it just took you to the title screen but it didn't then trigger any additional start presses, so that way you could then follow step 3, which is while you're on the title screen holding these buttons on controller 2, you press start on controller 1 and then you select either arcade or verse mode. And as I mentioned, you need to keep the buttons held on controller 2 until you actually arrive at the character select screen. Once you arrive on the character select screen, as player 1 or player 2 move to Akuma or Gouki, depending which version you're playing, hold down the start button on him and keep it held and pressed, and then select Gouki or Akuma with either the A, B, X or Y button, and if done correctly he'll do his normal stamp. He'll look correct and everything up till you enter the first match, so he'll look like normal Akuma. Once you enter the first match it will then show up as a Shin Akuma. So this includes on the roster screen he will only show up as normal Gouki Akuma. A little hint I did find if you want to discover if the cheats worked is to press, when you press start, select him with the A button. And the reason for that is if you normally select Gouki with the A button, he'll swap to his red colour palette alternative costume. if the cheat is correctly working, he will remain in his standard black and grey costume, and that tells you instantly you've successfully entered the cheat. So yes, if you press the alternative colours, he will always stay as the normal black Gouki costume. The reason being, Shin Akuma does not have a colour palette swap in-game. So even if you're playing a 2-player match, you will always be in his purple outfit, which does make verse matches against him a little bit confusing at times. And as mentioned, if you do play as him, he does have his own rival fight against himself. And if you actually know anything about Street Fighter Alpha, Shin Akuma, when you fight him, is always set to a much higher difficulty than any other character AI. In fact, the default character AI in Street Fighter Alpha 2, or this version of Street Fighter Zero 2, is very, very easy, but Shin Akuma's AI is set to a much higher ball game. So the thought of actually being able to fight him twice, once as your rival, because he always turns up as your rival and has a quick chat with himself. I'm not quite sure what he's saying, but you'll see the text. If anyone wants to translate it, by all means be my guest. And I'll also show you at the end of the match, although I wasn't able to actually get to Shin Akuma as the final opponent because I lost a round against my rival in this run, I did do a few test runs to see if I could actually fight Shin Akuma twice in the run, and sure enough, at the very end of this video I'll include one of the 1-round test runs I did where I was actually able to fight Shin Akuma twice by once beating him as the rival and then actually getting to him by completing his end fight criteria, so he replaces your final fight. Incidentally, the end fight criteria, in case you're wondering, it's get about 4 or 5 perfects. You can't lose a round. I think you need to have fought your rival as well. And I think you need so many first attack and so many super finishes. To fight your rival, you just need, I think, so many... It might be... I don't know if you need first attacks. I think it's first attacks, but for guaranteed, you need to get 5 or 6 super finish matches. Then, and that's every round. Just finish every round of a super finish. After about the 3rd or 4th round, you will get, or 5th round, you'll get to your rival fight. It's not that hard to get to the rival. The perfects and the super finishes are not losing a round are a bit more tricky to fight Shin Gouki as the final opponent. And one last point, once I'd actually entered my name on the scoreboard as Shin Akuma I carried on putting KAJ, but I noticed once I'd actually got on the scoreboard first place with Shin Akuma, I noticed I didn't need to then perform the step 2, so I didn't need to hold down L, X, Y and start on controller 2 to select Shin Akuma. He was then available just by pressing start on player 1 during the character selection. So that was an interesting one. If you entered him onto the scoreboard, if you actually got a score high enough to get onto the scoreboard Shin Akuma, you didn't then need to perform the second step for the cheat code, and that would last until you switched off the console. So that's it from me. It's a slightly longer introduction than I was expecting, but I think that's quite an informative one. I think a lot of people would be glad to know about this cheat and also utilise this cheat. Let us know at Randomised Gaming if you're able to use this cheat, and if you've been playing some bouts with it, that'd be really cool to know. Thanks again to, I'm going to mispronounce his name, but the reverse engineer, who we only know a pseudonym of Gizaha, for releasing and discovering this cheat. Very interesting to know. Really, really great actually to play as Shin Akuma. It's a really nice little extra that we haven't been able to find out for. I did check Japanese websites as well. None of the websites I saw carried this cheat, so maybe it'd been available on some obscure website before and everyone hadn't documented it, but it does seem like Capcom may not have released it due to a few of the bugs that occurred. I've heard on the English version the text is a bit garbled and messed up, possibly because they didn't translate it or cut the strings out as they didn't realise what they were used for, as I've seen that happen before. But yes, the code does work, but yeah, it's a bit glitchy. As you'll notice, as I include the screenshot in the centre of this card that shows the cheat, shows you the corruption that occurs during the game over screen. But that's it from me, and if you've enjoyed this video and found it informative, please do let us know, and please do consider hitting the like button, and of course you can always subscribe to our channel and follow our regular video updates and content. I'm really hoping we can push forward the channel in terms of statistics this year in 2021, so by all means, if you're a regular viewer, please do let your friends know about us and we'll see how much we can go. I'd like to try and hit at least 5,000 subscribers, if not more, if possible this year. But thank you all for watching and enjoy this Shin Akuma playthrough video.
教師。Round 2, fight! Round 1, fight! Round 2, fight! Round 1, fight! 教師 Round 2, fight! KO! Perfect! Round 1, fight! KO! Round 2, fight! KO!
少子
Round 1, fight! KO! Perfect! Round 2, fight! KO! Perfect!
少子
Round Round one, fight! KO! Round two, fight! KO! Round one, fight! KO! Round two, fight! KO!
Shoshi.
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.